So, can reconnective healing change our life path in just one interaction? And the answer is yes and no and yes.
Well, the answer is yes. And the no part is there really is no such thing as a single interaction with the reconnective healing intelligence. And what I mean by that is even one session is a omnidirectional process. It's multiple levels of space-time interacting simultaneously. So we really don't have a single interaction under any circumstance, but many people over 2.5 decades have been engaged just once, whether it's a session, just playing with the frequencies, even in a exchange with the portal, our online course, or reading Eric's book, and have had immediate life changes with these frequencies. But let's tell the story of one particular individual.
Let's go way back in time before the book. Funny thing was I had known this person for a couple of years, and then for a few years he had left LA and we hadn't been in touch. It just so happened I had a national film interview, a television interview was about to air, and I get a phone call a few days before from this guy who says, guess what, moving back to LA, do you know of anyone who needs work? Well, I knew he was very intelligent, well-spoken, could handle people, and I thought, great, but we'll do a little interview anyway. So I scheduled an interview with him. I showed up at his apartment building because it was far closer to where I lived than having to drive across town to my office. Rang the buzzer at the appointed time. No one answered the door. I thought that's a little odd, but someone walked out of the security building. I walked in. I went up to knock on the door, but the door to his apartment was a little ajar. So I peeked in. I looked around. I wasn't sure that I was seeing what I wanted to see, but no one was there, and it felt odd. And then in the back, he came out of the bedroom looking a little sleepy. He apologized for, not being there to answer the door. He said, just give me a minute to get ready. He disappeared in the bathroom and came back out, and we had a very nice interview. So he was interested in the work, and I said after the interview, great, I'd like you to experience this a little bit. He said, I don't have to experience. I heard everything I have to say, and I can say whatever needs to be said. I said, I don't want you to say whatever needs to be said. I want you to experience this work so you can speak from your heart and from your own experience.
Right.
So he sort of placatingly let me work with him for just 5 minutes. And afterwards, he said, I felt a little warmth. That was all he noticed. So I thought, well, all right, well, I really didn't have much opportunity or much chance for looking around. The show was about to air on Monday, and so I hired him. And he turned out to be just what I expected. Well-spoken, perfect for the people. He handled the questions well, knew the work. And we had a great time. And 6 months into working for me, he came to me one day and said, I have to tell you something. I said, all right, what is it? He said, well, that day that I didn't answer the door for you, it was, I didn't want to tell you, but I had a drug problem. And I had a bad habit. It was costing me about $6,000 a month. And I wasn't looking for work for any other reason than to support my drug habit. He said, but the funny thing is that I realized, actually the words he used was, it dawned on me after just 3 weeks of working in the office since that one session, that only session that he had, that he had forgotten to be doing any drugs. Turned out to be a great employee for many years.
Oh.
But we had no awareness of this. I had no focus on it. The intelligence of these reconnective healing frequencies, as we know, knows where to go and what to do. And it was showing me that with this person from the very first day.
Which is a lot of confirmation, especially early on when we knew very little about how and why this intelligence and these frequencies moved in the way that they did. But interesting, that was also a moment that really reset expectation. And it reset the expectation and I'm going to say the success and abundance of how we perceived what was available with the reconnective healing spectrum. It allowed for us to kind of move into the discovery of what does it mean, I'm going to say over and over and over again, to observe people's lives who are developing a relationship with this language, which is really a receiving of these frequencies and recognizing them. But there's no technique, there's no particular mind formula that would lead us to say, you're doing this right, you're doing this wrong. It's an interaction at a very complex yet cosmic level, right?
And it wants to show us.
Yes.
It wants to show us. It doesn't need us to show it.
It
doesn't need us to stand there and say, now move over the heart and now go to the liver and work on this part of the brain. It says, watch,
yes,
witness, observe,
yes,
discover the beauty. It's, you know, in a sense, you can say every reconnective healing session is like observing a rosebud. You don't know exactly what's on the inside, and each one unfolds and blossoms uniquely. And when it does that, and you get to look way into the center, and you get to discover the different fragrances of these different flowers, each is different, and each is perfect, and each opens to its own interaction
aroma
with, right, but each opens according to its own interaction and orchestration with this beautiful intelligence. Could you imagine if we came in and said, all right, here's the technique to open this rose. We're going to start with the petals that are the tightest and pull them apart. And then we're going to work in a clockwise direction and doing the second row and a counterclockwise. We'd destroy it. We would just destroy it. Yet I'm going to say the gift, the reward in reconnective healing is the healing itself and being allowed to witness and observe this incredible orchestration and how it manifests. You know, people say, can reconnective healing create a future that's free from our personal past?
and in some ways it's a very relevant question to ask, especially when transformation can be so immediate. You know, transformation doesn't always mean that we're free from what we'll call our personal past experiences. You know, oftentimes people have medical changes that they have chosen to have, whether it's, you know, shrinking their ability to be able to eat as much, so they lose weight. But interestingly, they don't find that their life has changed at all. Only one physical aspect has changed. And in the reconnective healing exchange, it's almost as if the orchestration has nothing to do with past, present, or future. It's a total transformation with everything simultaneously appropriate for that transformation to be put in place. So very rarely are we looking back and saying, wow, everything has changed, but I'm still feeling restricted or just with resistance to the change or transformation.
Because it's not about focusing on something physical, losing weight or getting rid of this or changing that, because it's a knowingness. It sees the bigger picture. I know that sometimes people will say, well, but maybe that change in this person may have cheated them out of some lessons. And it would be if we focused, or if we took some other approach in reconnective healing to focus on a specific aspect of the problem that we saw. But reconnective healing, for the healing to come about, it's so all-inclusive. It includes the people receiving their lessons at the same time. It seems to release us, I would not only say from the past of this lifetime, but I believe it seems to filter throughout different lifetimes or existence. The personal past not necessarily being limited to height, width, depth, and time on this time around.
And often it brings us into our fullest, most intended present self. So where we may have been in the past with thoughts and feelings and emotions and all kinds of things that sort of tie the mind to a past experience, something in how we are renewed, whether that's part of a new known that just seems to be there. Even the certainty, as people often tell us, a certainty in chaos, where everything about the present situation becomes highly manageable, with purpose, and often anything denser than that, any resistance that seemed to be around, we'll call it the past restriction or what was holding us back, falls away. And we don't even know often how it falls away. It just doesn't seem any longer to be part of where we are any longer.
Even past attractions
Yes.
seem to disappear.
Right.
Not just what we are attracted to, but who is attracted to us. And the way I sort of feel about this or describe it is it's that we begin to vibrate at a different level, and our untruths, the part of us that isn't really our essence, vibrate away. I get a visual sometimes of a big old rusty bell. It could be because I grew up in the Philadelphia area where the Liberty Bell was. And I see the vibrations of truth vibrating at that bell and the rust particles falling off. I think our rust tends to disappear, and we have a different sound, a different vibration that attracts different people and different things into our lives and onto our path.
Yes, that's a beautiful way to put it, really. And you know, even our DNA, which can be such an important part of, we'll call the information system, memories, things that we inherit, quite literally, biologically inherit, even that we find with the energy, light, and information, and we know from studies that we've done on how our DNA actually transforms even at that level of quantum. There are changes, and they bring us into what we'll call the present new known. And that's really exciting, even if we don't know exactly how it all happens, right?
And we don't.
I always say the deeper we go into science, the more mystical everything becomes.
But another thing is, the deeper we go into science, also sometimes the more deeply we think we understand it, until we really start to understand science, understand we know very little. I'll tell you, from that very first interview that I made reference to before, they asked how it worked, and I had to tell them honestly, I really don't know. And I do believe our honesty and integrity in not feeling shame or wanting to hide the fact that we don't know something allows people to say, now I really want to look into this.
Yes.
I know I wanted to look into it.
So, one interaction, I think we would unilaterally say absolutely can change the course of one's life path forever.
And as you said, there's never just one interaction. This person worked for me in different ways for many years, and it was his interaction touching so many thousands of people that allowed them to change their lives.
Yes. Omnidirectional.
Yeah, it was integral.
Very much so. So let's encourage a little more curiosity that Reconnective Healing is about life progress. And we often say that it is part of the mission of this work, that these frequencies come and touch the lives of every sentient human being on this planet. So
until next time.
yeah.